Greetings, welcome back to another episode where we are talking about visual thinking. Let me just do a recap in at least chronological order of the videos and how they were recorded. Of course, you can watch these in whatever order you want. So we started off with the video, digital version of this, talking about how to sketchnote and mind map. And remember, this is in the context of a 7th grade elective class called Techspertise, but really applicable to whatever situation you find this useful. Then we did a bit of visual thinking, the sketch note, and mind mapping in real time, just so you can see what it's about. There was a second video here. A third video, just sort of like you're not sure where to start, you need some more guidance, so that's what this episode was about. And then there was also a fourth episode that had a digital drawing that was in color, sort of more about the background and the motivation of why this type of drawing. So today I want to turn our attention to sort of the second type, if we had to divide up the ways of visual thinking and expression. There's not really a commonly used term. I like to think of it as industrial design drawing. And let me show you these two resources right here first by way of example. First we have this book right here. It's called Drawing Ideas. You can look up the authors there. And let me just show you sort of the types of things you'll see in this book. So I'll just let the pictures speak for themselves. Okay, and it not only shows you how to do the technique, but it also shows you a lot of the concept. So I am flipping to my bookmarks here. You can see here thinking about all the different arrow types that you could draw. Okay, and what else do we have here? We have looking at different views, okay, and how shadows are cast. I guess you could pause on any of these frames if you really wanted to see, or you could purchase or order this book. A bit about graphic design at the very conceptual level, and just sort of not so much the technique, but yeah, I'm sort of lost for words here of how to describe it. I think Gestalt principle. I think that's actually more of what you see here. Right, really just visual communication and how it works. So there's a lot of technique in here, but also sort of more nuances and sort of the theory behind it. And, you know, this is a whole class unto itself. And then we've talked a lot about signs and symbols, especially in an international context where the same language cannot be assumed. Okay, so that was book number one. Book number two takes a bit more head-on. I really like the name of this book. Okay, you can see the authors there. And this book can be rather intimidating because this is actual industrial design. So let's take a pause. What exactly is industrial design? It is not the same as industrial engineering, which often is more of sort of at a systems level of engineering. Industrial design speaks very specifically to sort of the way that products are formed visually. So, I mean, I actually don't know the history of the Sharpie. Maybe somebody thought of this design at the beginning, but maybe there were many iterations so that the form of it could go along with the function. Of course, one very iconic brand, Apple, okay, Johnny Ive, Sir Johnny Ive, who I believe no longer is at Apple officially, he has formed the industrial design of many of Apple's iconic products. So, industrial design is an important part, but often it's just focused on the visuals. It can actually also focus on other senses, such as the feel and the shape. But this works in conjunction with engineering in terms of how to make the product work and how to make it look the way that the company and the designers intend to. So anyways, that's sort of the realm of what we're talking here. And so if you look in this book, it can be rather intimidating, but don't be intimidated. Okay, these are real students actually from all over the world, and it shows you all the different sort of product drawings. And so actually, this is a nice little intro, 5 reasons to sketch. So let's just sort of skim through it. Okay, we've talked about these concepts already in our previous video. So speed, okay, serendipity or emergence, the act of drawing itself will have various things emerge either in your mind or through your hand. Okay, even though we do have access to fancy CAD software now, still sometimes you need that notebook or just the back of a napkin. Okay, it's something that won't grow obsolete. And then hopefully, once you get some confidence, it can actually be fun. Okay? And let me just flip to another point in this book. They do some case studies in the back here. So here, this student has been given the task of designing an autonomous fire guard. Okay, you could take a look at this, what this means. So you see some initial pencil sketches, then some more renderings. Okay, talking a bit more about how this concept will work. Okay, and then into actual models, physical models. All right, and then the final renderings. Now, of course, this is all conceptual, so it's not a knock against industrial design because it's very important. Rather, it's to say that it doesn't live on its own. And that's sort of at the other extreme if you have a machine that works and works well, but it's not packaged as a product yet. So both pieces are needed. Okay, so again, if this is something that is inspirational to you, find these resources. Hopefully it doesn't, it inspires you rather than sort of intimidates you or makes you feel like you can never get there. You can definitely get there. It just takes a lot of practice. Okay, so for the second part of the video, I just want to explore here sort of the differences and what we've been talking about so far. I'm looking at the time here, so I'll just give a quick overview, and then in the following episode, I'll actually demonstrate some warm-ups that can get us to this sort of industrial design style. Okay, so let's think practical here. So far, we've been talking about sort of sketchnote and mind map, okay, and that can be very useful. But now as we shift into this industrial design realm, it's sort of more about products, places, things, of course, an important people. Okay, you can say that before sort of more we're talking about abstract because kind of more like words and just sort of some doodles to go along with it. Here we're talking about the actual concrete thing that we are envisioning here. Okay, and then again from thoughts and concepts to objects, and of course these are all related but for purposes of understanding and learning, we sort of create this dichotomy. All right, I have written here, if you watched the video that had the color drawing or the motivation of drawing, you'll remember this, but I have to emphasize so much again. Just like with musicians and athletes, they have practiced over and over and over and over and over again. And yes, there might be some element of sort of natural skill, or maybe many members in their families were accomplished athletes or musicians too, but they put in a lot of hard work. And if you think about the free throws that a basketball player has made or the scales that a musician has gone through, okay, they're not going to look back and be like, oh yeah, you remember that one time I missed the basket, or I played a lot of wrong notes, I forgot the flats and the sharps. Okay, they're not going to do that. They're just going to push ahead. And so likewise in this endeavor, I know it can be very scary. You put yourself out there, you put your thoughts, you put your drawing, and like, how can I compare to, let's say, these books? Well, don't compare yourself. Okay, just don't. You see the end product, but you do not see the process behind it. I need to put process here. Process / progress. Okay. Okay. So let's just show a preview here, since we're reaching the end of the time. How do we go about doing this sort of drawing? And so there's sort of these warm-ups that you do. Imagine this is your 8.5 by 11 sheet or something similar. That's not the right proportions. So what you're going to do is we're going to go through in drawing actually arcs first. All right, and I'm actually going to have videos that walk you through how to do this. Then we go to lines. Then we go to ovals. Okay, and then we go to circles. And then you can put things together. So for instance, if you had another sheet of paper, let's say you do a bunch of vertical lines, then you can use these parallel lines, this is all freehand, and draw some ellipses in between. And of course, there you have created cylinders. Okay, and then when you put that in with the concept of 2-point perspective, or it could be 1 or 3-point perspective, depending on the context. All right, what does that mean? Art review, we have the horizon line, and then these are vanishing points. Vanishing points. So what does that mean? Again, this can be a whole lesson unto itself, but you have, let's say you're drawing a cube, so you have a vertical line there. And what happens is the edges here, they are going to converge to that vanishing point. Okay, so you have that. I'm just sort of doing a quick freehand. If you wanted a more accurate two-point perspective, you could use rulers too. But part of this is comfort without a straight edge. Okay, and so what would you do here? This back edge is going to vanish to here. Okay, and then this back edge is going to vanish to here. All right. So what does the two-point perspective mean? It means that these parallel lines here converge at this point. But the parallel lines in this dimension, they stay parallel. And you can get to much more intricate representations of real-life objects through this two-point perspective. Okay, so I've given you an overview. Again, we've been talking a lot about sketchnote and mind mapping, so I want to pivot over to sort of this style of drawing. Even though if you don't really get into the product, I feel that these sorts of warm-ups sort of loosen you up and make it so that you are freer to doodle and draw. So even if you don't get to these more object-oriented type drawings, it can still sort of release those inhibitions on your drawing. Okay, thanks for watching, and next time we'll go to dive into the how-to of these sorts of warm-ups. Thanks for watching.